I'm a member of the Ireland-Brazil committee. In the Dáil, we have several committees. They're kind of diplomatic committees, I guess, where TDs would engage with their counterparts from other countries. So about a year ago, we had a meeting with the Brazilian ambassador to Ireland, and we spoke about many, many issues. But one of them was the possibility of having direct air routes from Ireland to Brazil. And a manifestation that was just a week ago, Minister Darragh O'Brien went to Brazil for St. Patrick's Day, and they've now begun negotiating a deal between Ireland and Brazil that will lead the way to a direct air route. Now, where that comes from and where that goes to, I don't know, but I'm certainly pushing the Shannon agenda as chairman of the Shannon Oireachtas Group. I think it would be amazing, an opportunity for our region to have direct flights into Brazil. It would be very attractive from a business point of view, from tourism, but also I'm very cognizant that within Clare, and particularly when you go north of Clare into the Gort area, there's a huge amount of Brazilian people. They want to travel over and back. And just like in the noughties, when we had a lot of air routes in and out of Poland to serve the Polish community living here then, I think there's very high merit to having a direct route from Shannon, hopefully, into Brazil, and hopefully we can start negotiating that now.
Do you think there is a strong chance for Shannon to be chosen, or do you think it's more likely maybe Dublin or Cork will get it?
Well, see, this is where it becomes tricky, because as politicians, we can push for routes, we can advocate for routes, we can negotiate these kind of agreements that Minister Darragh O'Brien has now initiated. The one thing we don't have any control over is the commercial decisions. So Aer Lingus, Ryanair, and their Brazilian counterparts, they all make commercial decisions. So they will decide, first of all, is it viable to run a route, and where will you run the route in and out of? But I think this agreement, look, it's as much as we're able to do politically, but I would hope that when this gets underway a little bit, to have further rounds of talks with the ambassador to Ireland, and if needs be, to approach some of the airlines. Shannon is a fantastic airport. I can't say enough about it, and I know it's held dearly in the hearts of people in Clare and in the wider Midwest. The management team in Shannon, at the moment led by Ray O'Driscoll and his team there, they are very adept at pitching Shannon to airlines as well. So look, hopefully a reasonable package can be put on the table that might lure an airline in. There's no guarantees, but we're certainly doing all we can from an agreement, from a regulatory point of view, to make this possible if it is to happen.
And have you had people yourself come up to you and stress the need for the link between Brazil and Shannon?
Yeah, I think, a lot of Brazilian people live in this region, mostly came in the late 90s, early 90s, but they've very much made Brazil their home now. Quite a large number of Brazilians as well studying in language schools in Ennis and in Limerick. I know of another cluster of Brazilian people living in Shannon. So they very much desire an air route back home. Now, away from what they desire and their wants to have a link to their home country, I think many Irish people would like there to be a direct route, not just into Brazil, but further afield into South America. I've been making the point lately, people obsessionally talk about flying into capital cities. If you go to France, you have to go into Paris. If it's Germany, you go to Berlin. But why not have people flying to other parts of the country? So not everything has to be from hub to hub. Why not have something flying from Shannon to one of the regional airports in Brazil, providing people with a link to their home country, or people who want to do business, people who want to go on holidays. I know Brazil is certainly on my bucket list, and I think it's quite popular with Irish people. It's a place they want to see. And with all things aviation, things could be tried out here. They could run a route potentially for a few months or for a season and see how it works operationally. If it makes money, if it's viable, maybe it could become a long-term fixture. But I must reiterate again, this will all depend on commercial decision making. Politicians can cultivate the ground. We can lay out the regulatory framework for this to happen, but ultimately it'll be in the boardroom of an airline where they decide, we're going to run a route and we're going to run out of Shannon. That's up to them. But we've had many success stories in Shannon over the years. The airport is going, it's going fantastic. They're having their best year of the past 16 years. It's in a really strong place, and I think it would be wonderful to see an air route from Shannon to Brazil with onward connectivity to other parts of South America.
Do you think conversation like this could spark up interest linking Shannon or Ireland as a whole to other South American countries?
I think it could. South America is a continent I've never visited, but I do know it's quite popular with particularly young Irish people. They like to go there for a summer or for a few months. the point I made recently at a meeting I chaired in Shannon Airport was that, if people want to fly to Asia, to Australia, to New Zealand, there's kind of a set pattern. You usually fly, from Dublin, maybe to Singapore, maybe to Dubai, and then you go on to Melbourne, etc. But why not have a secondary or a tertiary network of airports that you could fly through? Why not fly like Shannon to um, one of the airports in Brazil and then onwards to Chile or to Bolivia? Why not have a secondary way around the world for people who want to do business, who want to travel, who want to get back to their home country? I think there's definitely a market for that. Not everything has to be funneled through the airports that have tens of millions of passengers. I think Shannon could play a major role here, and I hope if this agreement is concluded in the coming months that we can begin that dialogue with airlines and with the Brazilian ambassador to Ireland again. He's definitely keen on this, but it's to make it happen is a thing of persuasion, I would say, with the airlines.